People didn't stop disappearing. The town simply stopped reporting them. For years, nobody noticed. The numbers looked impressive on paper, while surrounding communities continued filing missing person reports every year. One town seemed to be getting safer. At least, that was what the statistics suggested. The reality was harder to explain. Residents were still vanishing. The difference was what happened afterward. Most towns react in predictable ways when somebody disappears. Families contact police. Friends organize searches. Local newspapers publish photographs. Questions spread quickly. In this town, the process often stopped halfway through. Searches happened. Concern existed. People talked. Then something changed. Official attention faded unusually fast. Cases that looked serious became administrative issues. Investigations ended before they seemed finished. Within months, some disappearances were being discussed as though they had never been disappearances at all. A journalist discovered the pattern by accident. He was reviewing regional crime statistics when one town stood out immediately. The decline was too perfect. Missing person reports had fallen year after year until they almost disappeared entirely. At first, he assumed the town was unusually safe. Then he began reading local newspapers. That assumption lasted less than a week. The articles told a different story. A teenager vanished after leaving school. An elderly woman never returned from her morning walk. A mechanic disappeared while driving home from work. The names changed. The outcome did not. People kept vanishing. The reports simply vanished with them. The journalist decided to visit. Nothing about the town felt unusual. Children played outside. Shops were open. Residents greeted each other by name. It looked exactly like the kind of place where everybody knew everybody. That made the next discovery more unsettling. Several residents remembered people who no longer appeared in official records. One family showed him newspaper clippings about a missing relative. Another produced photographs from search efforts years earlier. The events clearly happened. Yet when he requested corresponding documentation, many files were incomplete, reclassified, or missing entirely. A retired officer offered a practical explanation. Small departments make mistakes. Paperwork gets lost. Records become fragmented over time. The journalist accepted that possibility until he noticed the same thing happening again and again. The missing files were not random. They belonged to the same category of cases. People who disappeared unexpectedly. People who were never found. People whose stories ended without answers. Then he encountered something he could not explain. A local librarian showed him archived newspapers that had never been digitized. One edition contained a front-page story about a missing teenager. The article included photographs, interviews, and details from an active search. The journalist copied the date and requested police records. According to official documentation, no missing person case existed for that individual. The discrepancy bothered him enough to keep digging. Over the following months, he found several similar examples. Newspapers described disappearances. Residents remembered disappearances. Families remembered disappearances. The official record often did not. The town seemed to possess two versions of its own history. One version survived in memories. The other survived in paperwork. The two rarely matched. Word of the investigation spread. Some residents welcomed it. Others clearly wanted it to end. Not because they appeared guilty, because they seemed exhausted. Several people told him the same thing. The town had spent years asking questions. The questions never led anywhere. Eventually, people stopped expecting answers. Then came the interview that changed everything. An elderly woman agreed to speak about her brother, who had disappeared decades earlier. She described the search in remarkable detail. Volunteers combed nearby woods. Police checked abandoned buildings. The local newspaper covered the story for weeks. The journalist asked what happened afterward. The woman paused. Then she said something he would later write down word for word. The strange part wasn't that he disappeared. It was how quickly everyone started acting like he hadn't. According to her, conversations changed within months. People stopped mentioning his name. Search efforts faded. Even those who cared seemed uncomfortable discussing him. At first, she believed it was grief. Years later, she wasn't so sure. The journalist heard similar accounts from other families. Not identical stories, just the same feeling. A disappearance would shock the town. Then the town would slowly move around the empty space left behind, as though acknowledging it for too long became difficult. Eventually, the journalist published his findings. The article attracted national attention. Officials defended the town's record-keeping. Former residents contacted newspapers with their own stories. Researchers reviewed decades of archives. Nobody discovered a conspiracy. Nobody uncovered a secret organization. No explanation fully accounted for the missing reports. That remains true today. The town still exists. The streets look ordinary. The shops are still open. People still live there. And if the statistics are correct, almost nobody ever goes missing. The newspapers tell a different story. So do the families. That contradiction is what turned an ordinary town into a mystery. Because the most disturbing possibility was never that people disappeared. People disappear everywhere. The disturbing possibility was that an entire community had become strangely comfortable with forgetting them.